Hey, what's up, Shack Housers? How y'all doing? What am I doing under here? I'm looking for more of the dumbest mutant powers that Marvel's ever done. Yeah, and guess what? I found some. 5 more, in fact. Yeah, hope your week went well. So just sit back and enjoy this one right here. And some She-Hulk, that's coming up too eventually as well too. Peace.
Larry Bodine. Larry Bodine was a mutant with a light sculpting power. His power operated by gathering all the ambient photons from his environment and shaping them into a visible display. Similar to artificially created three-dimensional holograms, Larry caused light to form into three-dimensional representations of anything that he could visualize. He could sculpt and shape these projections over time to modify and improve upon his initial attempts. But these constructs, they were not strictly solid, as they could not support weight and would disperse over time or even if something made contact with them. He may have been capable of using multiple colors, creating multiple colors that is, but his creations only appeared yellow when they were visible. Poor Larry. He appeared only in one issue, a one-shot about mutant teen suicide, of which he was a suicide victim. And while the story was good, I'm sorry, his power sucked. Yet he could create solid light sculptures that disappeared whenever they were touched. I suppose that if he was around Dazzler or Jubilee, he could literally steal their light for his own purposes, but I'm sorry. I see no practical use in that power beyond a carnival show. Next! Hannah Levy. Hannah Levy's mutant power was an altered digestive system and metabolism. Her tongue was both elastic and prehensile, allowing her to stretch it to a few dozen feet long, guiding it like a whip or a lasso towards a given target. The rest of her digestive system was mutated for a strict diet of insects. Yet her body's gastrointestinal tract can only process insects, breaking them down for high levels of protein, calcium, iron, and zinc until her cells utilize those elements absorbed from those insects during digestion. Longtime District X resident Hannah Levy, she's a nice Jewish girl, has a degree in social history, and was a researcher for a prominent historical journal. But nobody cares about that because her power gave her an appetite for bugs. As you can see, she catches bugs in midair with her tongue and then snacks on them. Now the mutant called Maggot, he may have had a mutated digestive tract too, but at least it was never relegated to metabolizing only bugs. She got used to her power though, so much so that when she lost her power on M-Day, Decimation, she went crazy. She didn't treat herself to a prime rib dinner to celebrate the loss of that power, nah. But rather she allowed herself to be driven insane, deluding herself into thinking that the insects would attack her as revenge for eating so many of them. She was cured of her condition mentally, but I wonder what her opening line is when she goes speed dating. Hi, I'm Hannah. I like social history and I used to love eating bugs. Next. Zeitgeist. Zeitgeist was born with the mutant ability to generate large amounts of gelatinous, energized bioplasma from within his throat cavity and expel it through his mouth. This gunk, as he calls it, is a corrosive acid and is highly volatile, capable of dissolving and eating through solid matter. It can also cause explosive releases of force if even slightly stimulated. Now, Zeitgeist had difficulty controlling the release of his mutant power, and he constantly wore a face mask over his mouth. Some of you may recall Zeitgeist from Deadpool 2. I mostly recall him from the comics. Now, most mutants, they remember when their powers first manifested, and I'm sure Axel Clooney remembers his. Yeah, his power manifested when he was at a beach getting drunk with a girl, and he hurled his corrosive vomit all over her face, disfiguring her. He wore a specially designed mouthpiece to control his power from then on, and he was leader of the media-skewering incarnation of X-Force and enjoyed the fame and female groupies that came with it. I mean, he got so used to the good life that he even forgot the name of the first girl that he vomited on. It took him being killed, literally shot in half, for him to finally remember the girl's name, Felicity. But the corrosive vomit, I like to see whose is more acidic, his or Jeff Goldblum's from The Fly. Acidic vomit, and he's not even a fucking insect. Next. Snot. Snot's mutant power is a superhuman nasal cavity that contains mucus of exotic properties. The only outward sign of his mutation is that his nose is now a semi-pronounced snout with superhuman nasal bones, cartilage, including the septal cartilage in the upper and lower lateral cartilages, and mucosa. He can sneeze or snort in order to propel his mucus at a much greater distance than any normal human. He also produces far more mucus than normal. Snot's mucus is abnormally elastic and adhesive. It can cling to his targets, restricting their movements and gluing them to the floor or anything else they touch. It absorbs force, which, combined with its slippery and adhesive properties, makes it difficult to remove. A targeted snot ball can block off orifices, potentially asphyxiating and killing an opponent. Yeah, Snot's got a superhuman nose and superhuman boogers. Snot was released. He was created at a time when the X-Men writers were clearly running out of ideas. Yeah, he reminds me of the Toad from the first 2000 X-Men film, but not as gross. As a child, the corporation that makes Kleenex must have loved him. He also reminds me of something of that middle school kid. That one middle school kid in 6th grade who's obsessed with scatological humor and would create any kind of superpowered being based on gross shit, like a mutant with prehensile pubic hair. And his name? Snot's name? His name makes me think of this.
Snot, you roll over and let Uncle Clark scratch your belly.
Next, Sienna Blaze. Sienna Blaze's mutant ability is the power to manipulate vast amounts of electromagnetic energy. She does not, however, generate the energy within herself, nor does she use her power in conjunction with the Earth's electromagnetic field. What Sienna does instead is that she distorts Earth's existing electromagnetic forces, gathering and directing them by the force of will. She can use her power to create massively destructive energy discharges, levitate by riding on magnetic ley lines, and sense electromagnetic phenomena in her vicinity, and instantaneous energy-based transportation similar to teleportation. The side effects of her power are severe, however. Every time she uses her abilities, she runs the risk of destroying the planet. Yes, Sienna's power actually creates tears in the Earth's electromagnetic field that scramble energy wavelengths at a 100-mile radius of her, causing ecological upsets that create environmental hazards on a massive scale. Even her teleportation signature creates an electromagnetic disruption as an explosive decompression. Yes, Sienna was one of those 90s villains who was conceived and billed as so powerful that her powers can destroy the Earth. But luckily, nothing ever happened besides bad weather and explosions whenever she teleports. Speaking of which, here's a key difference between her teleportation power and that of Nightcrawler's. Whenever Nightcrawler teleports, in between jumps, he spends a fraction of a second in an adjacent universe called the Brimstone Dimension. And when that dimension interacts with our atmosphere, it creates a puff of smoke, a stench of brimstone, a burst of flame, and the accompanying BAMF sound whenever he teleports. Yeah, the BAMF sound is created by the implosion of nearby air rushing in to fill the vacuum created by his absence. Now, Sienna's power creates an electromagnetic implosion. Because she's a part of the Earth's electromagnetic field, when she teleports, she takes a portion of the field with her, and nearby electromagnetic energies rush in to fill the void created by her absence, creating an explosive decompression. Yeah, I'll give her props though. In her first appearance, she tried to take on and take out all three leaders of the X-Men, Cyclops, Storm, and Xavier, in Antarctica. Yeah, but her power's most lethal destructive effect was ill-conceived from the jump. I mean, whatever damage that she causes to the atmosphere and the electromagnetic field can be instantly repaired by anybody who has molecular manipulative powers or matter manipulation powers, sealing the hole in a second, like so. See? Okay, that's what we got for this week, kids. I will be doing part 6 of the dumbest mutant powers next week, but tune in tomorrow as I cover the first episode of Marvel's She-Hulk, Attorney at Law. Later, Shackhousers. Have a good week. Peace.
Mansion, apartment.
Shack house. Yes!
Yeah.